Anyone can launch a product. The hard part is getting users and then getting paid. Welcome to week 3 of the studio log. And to improve your SEO, you want to send good signals to Google. These blog posts are pretty much fully automated, including all the research, the content writing, the asset creation. You'll eventually be able to come here, hire your own SEO agent. Okay, so this is the new raw typing homepage. The question moves away from, oh, how can I build this thing, to, okay, I built it, now what? So that is a shift you need to make mentally if you're gonna do marketing and sales and not feel bad about it and not feel like a bit spammy. Okay, so where do we begin? Here in Claude Cuts, which is our AI-powered video editor. So let's go ahead and quickly do a transcript for this. So first of all, we've made some nice edits to this edit by text screen. It's a lot cleaner. It was looking a bit clunky the other day. And I should say quite a few things in this project are a bit rocky. I'm trying to get all the foundations of the functionality and the logic down. Then we can add a splash of paint as we get closer to launch. I spent the start of the week wrestling a few performance things. It's not that interesting to talk about, but I want to make sure that this product is super solid, because a lot of times when you use video editors, whether they're in the browser or even on your desktop, lag, bugs, glitches, they're so frustrating when you're trying to get through an edit. Editing is hard enough as it is, let alone if you've got a kind of headwind of lag. We also did some work on the recording flow. Currently you can record just from the browser, but that doesn't allow you to record certain screen zones. It doesn't allow us to track the mouse and do cool things like that. Kind of like Screen Studio does, where they do the nice zooms. So I've been working on getting this into an Electron app. I haven't got that sorted yet, but Codex has been chugging away and doing a great job on it. And shout out to the new Codex tool. They did some good stuff there. Okay, so speaking of Screen Studio, everyone knows you need a good zoom nowadays in your product demo videos. So I've added that into the editor. So if we click zoom here, we've got our smart zoom. And again, we've got a few presets here. So we're gonna add studio zoom style, and you can control the duration here. So if we click play, it will zoom in and we can adjust the zoom level. We can adjust where it is and then go back, adjust the duration. So we'll zoom in and then zoom out again. So that foundation is in place and we'll keep working on that. Maybe do some smart stuff there. What we can do is look at the transcript and think, where would a zoom be good? And then suggest a few zooms or even auto apply them. So good progress on the video project. Moving on to NSDR. Again, a project that over a year ago we were making around $1,500 in revenue. Unfortunately, we let traffic do a nosedive. We lost users, which then meant the revenue also followed. But we've done a relaunch a few weeks ago and signs are pretty good so far. What I did is I removed all the kind of authentication and paywalls, so you can just come in straight away and start diving into the content. The reason for this is that the main goal is that I want to grow the number of users, and SEO is a big part of that. And to grow and to improve your SEO, you want to send good signals to Google that users are using your site, they're enjoying your site, which means Google's going to serve it to more people. So this theory is showing some good signs. You can see that we get around 50-60% of people coming from the homepage straight into the library, and then another 50% are actually going into a category. So we're getting good usage there, and hopefully that will show signs soon in our SEO and organic traffic. Also got our blog up and running. Excuse these tags here, I know that's a bit messy. The idea is that I want to be publishing around 1 to 2 posts a day. So you can see we've got Feb 3rd, Feb 4th. Need to do our posts today, which I'll touch on in a second. So again, these blog posts are pretty much fully automated, including all the research, the content writing, the asset creation. We're using Nano Banana for these illustrations. I think they're pretty sick. And again, super in-depth, high quality posts. And these are going to keep getting better and better. And I'll talk about our AI SEO tool later. But generally, performance is slowly ticking, and again, SEO is a slow burner, so things are moving in the right direction. It's not always just up to the right, unfortunately, and with SEO sometimes there's no rhyme or rhythm. But what we want to do is just keep consistently posting, keep the content quality high, make the site super good to use, make sure the product is solid, and then as we slowly build up more and more traffic, we can start re-adding authentication, we can start re-adding payments, and hopefully get NSDR making money again. Sweet. So Mass for Sell app is the placeholder site for our SEO tool. I'm working on this with an agency owner who's got 40 writers. He's got a bunch of processes in place. He's ranking for super competitive keywords. He gets how to rank. And we're training LLMs on all of this, which means that you'll eventually be able to come here, hire your own SEO agent. You'll be able to give it all the information it needs to create a solid strategy. And it'll go ahead and do all the keyword research, get all the keyword volume data, and then create a content calendar for you. And speaking of which, I have been making some changes to onboarding, because in our main dashboard, we've got a nice kind of calendar where you can come through and it will automatically generate eventually. But let me run through the onboarding quickly. So if we put in our site here, nsdr.go, it's going to do a nice bit of brand fetch. So trying to make the onboarding easy, but also at the end of the day, we do need to get quite a bit of information here. So editorial guidelines and voice is super important, especially for bigger brands, because they don't want their blog sounding like a kind of random AI. For smaller projects, we'll take a couple of pieces from your site, and then we'll create a basic tone and style guide that will then be passed to the AI writers. I haven't deployed it yet, but I've also added you can upload your own editorial guidelines if you're that way inclined. And then you continue, and we also need to know what product you're promoting, and again we'll need the link there, because then in all your articles it will do internal linking and link back to your main offering. And again, with goals, we're trying to make it easy. We're trying to proactively create stuff. So we've automatically made this strategy, establishing NSDR as the authority on non-sleep deep rest. And then if you want to add any other context there, you can do that. And then we'll click generate calendar and give it a second. Okay, so we've got a 30-day calendar for now. Again, this will be around 90 days with 1 to 2 posts per day. We've got a calendar here. We've got different topics. So NSDR protocol, immediate mental restoration, very nice. We've got some volume, and this is just going to be placeholder content for now. And then generation pause in private beta, because I don't want to be spending a lot of money on generation just yet, a bit too early for that. And again, we're refining a bunch of the content pieces internally now. So pumped about this one and excited to roll out some of that go-to-market for this app. Okay, so if you've watched the other vlogs, you may remember rawtyping.com. It's a kind of gamified writing app where you can come in and it forces you to focus, it forces you to write. If you stop writing or slow down, it will start deleting things. Again, a bit of a novelty app, but genuinely been working for me, and sometimes I jump in and get some really good writing sessions done. I've done a little bit of promotion on it, not too much, because I'm using it myself. I talk about it, a bit of traffic coming in, but if we look at signups, there's just nothing, it's not resonating with people. And it could be for a bunch of reasons. It could be that people just don't need it. It could be privacy concerns. It could be that there's just not enough AI in there for people. So we've had a bit of a pivot. So let me show you the new version. Okay, so this is the new raw typing homepage, and it has been pivoted into a Twitter scheduling tool. And I was actually building a separate app that lived on my Mac that was like a focus tool that had a tweet scheduler and poster built into that, but it makes a lot more sense here. Of course, it's pretty intuitive how this works. You put it in here, you can either post it, schedule it, you can do drafts in here. What's also quite nice is a little AI assistant sidebar. You've always got to have an AI assistant sidebar. Okay, so we'll say in the voice of Shampuri about how addictive Twitter is. Keep it short, no hashtags. So we'll punch that in. It's a pretty bad Gemini model, and I haven't done any prompting on it, so it's going to be a bit rocky, but there we go. So we can clean it up. It's not great. This tweet definitely isn't going to go viral, but it's a nice building block to improve on. And I think what else is cool is that we can pull your tweets, get your tone of voice, get the way you tweet, and then help you draft stuff there. And of course, we've still got our old raw typing flow. Luckily, Twitter made their pricing a lot more generous. They made it pay per use, which means beforehand you have to pay $200 a month to even use the API. Now it's pay per use, so I can whip up a side project like this. You can go sign up and use it, and it's not going to cost a bunch to use. So yeah, free for now. Might open source it. Let me know what you think. Hopefully we'll see a bit more usage there. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, so the go-to-market strat. What are we cooking up here? What are we thinking? A big thing of what I've said in these studio logs is that I want to grow usage. I want to grow to revenue. It's all well and good building, but really these apps need to be growing. They need to be getting users and revenue. And I think with building in such a good place where you can just one-shot things or in a couple of hours build something pretty solid, the question moves away from, oh, how can I build this thing, to, okay, I built it, now what? Because just building it and just putting it up and maybe tweeting once about it, it's not going to go very far. So hopefully with this channel, I can document myself going down that path, testing things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work at all, seeing what I enjoy doing, because I think for this marketing stuff, you need to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's just a slog. So let me go through this GTM strat quickly and how I'm thinking about it. I think I'll do a separate video actually going into details about what specific tactics should be rolled out for different projects, how frequently. And yeah, when I'm working on this stuff, sometimes it doesn't feel productive because you haven't got like agents running. Like when you're building, you feel productive all the time. And I do that 90% of the time. But really when you're building 90 or 95% of the time and only doing growth and sales stuff less than 5% of the time, it's probably not going to end too well if you're trying to make this actually a business. Okay, so I've been calling my kind of smaller side projects satellite projects. So again, I've got my video project, I've got my SEO AI project. Those are the main focuses, but you know, it's 2026. We're going to be building stuff. We're going to be launching stuff every week pretty much. So what are we going to do about these lower orbit projects? There's projects that I'll whip up in an evening, maybe even half hour. And I think, yeah, this should go out. Usually at the moment, I'm just tweeting about them. and maybe saying, hey, I launched this thing. And to be honest, the X algo is hard enough. You might only get 50 to 100. Even if it does well, you might only get 500 impressions, even if it's resonating with people. So just launching, just saying is not really enough. What I think does work well and has worked well in the past, I don't know if in 2026 it is the play, but yes, we want to be doing a good demo. And I think demo videos are super important. I think like vanilla screen recording doesn't cut it on Twitter. I think if you have the Zooms, if you have that Screen Studio Flow, it can get a lot more attention, which gives your project a lot more opportunity to get in front of people. So a good demo video, launching it, actually launching it on Product Hunt, launching it on the directories, launching it on the Reddits. I think that's a bare minimum you want to be doing with satellite. And if you're not doing that, then you're not giving your project a chance to go anywhere. Even launching like a pretty quick build on Product Hunt can sometimes give it enough momentum where it will start getting organic traffic on Google. A few of my mates and I launched an emoji generator like 2 or 3 years ago, and it was super basic, but we launched it on Product Hunt. We made a nice like launch page. The website was pretty nice, and went to Product Hunt. Suddenly within a week, we were ranking pretty high on Google, getting a bunch of traffic in, a bunch of users. I think for every single project that you're working on or that you're actually shipping, I think you should actually try and do a launch. You never know what's going to happen. It's the same with Claude Code Agents. I didn't actually do a proper launch for that, but I actually did put it out on Twitter quite a bit. It got a lot of attention, and now it's doing between 100 and 200 users a day with very little effort. So pretty much every satellite, if you're buying a domain for it, do a proper launch. Okay, mid-orbit. What are we doing for mid-orbit? So this is things that, the idea is that you launch the satellites here, and then a few of them will show a bit of traction. They'll show some users, maybe a bit of revenue, and then they'll go into mid-orbit. What do we want to do here? So here I think we want to do a bit more frequent work on it. So for me, this is like raw typing, Claude Code Agents, NSDR. They're showing some signs of traction, or I'm enjoying using them. So here, what's the kind of go-to-market things when you sit down and you're doing a marketing day, which we should be doing? So I think here, a bunch of content about it. Like I'm doing content right now, but more frequently like about the product, about the growth, about new features you're doing, which is a good one because it's like marketing, but you're also just making the product better, and you should always be trying to do that. SEO works. So like I was showing you for NSDR earlier, keeping a good cadence there, keeping the content high quality. And along with SEO work, you want to be doing YouTube video. YouTube video is a really underrated way to rank on Google, especially if you take that video, publish it to YouTube, and then add it to an SEO blog post. That's a good one for relaunching. So like relaunching on different directories, relaunching on different subreddits, talking about it there. So just being proactive with it, and maybe like rotating these. So maybe 1 week I'll do all these strategies for NSDR. Maybe 1 week I'll do it for this, and 1 week for Claude Code Agents. And again, it shouldn't take too long. You could potentially do these things in like 60 or 90 minutes on your marketing days. So again, we've got these lower orbit things here. We just want to launch them, give them a chance. And then once they've got a bit of traction, we want to keep watering those projects and helping them grow. And then for the core projects, what are we doing for these? So these are those 2 projects I obviously spoke about. So here it's basically everything below here we want to be doing for these, but we want to be doing them with higher frequency, more intensity. I'm doing improvements to them. I should be posting about every single thing. I should be doing specific content around those. I should be potentially making YouTube channels for them and doing specific content around AI video or around AI SEO. And then getting into the weeds, doing some outreach, Twitter DMs, paid ads, spelled that wrong. Cold calling, we'll get back on the cold call, get flow back on the channel. So in a way, it's representative of how much time I'm spending building, should also be reflected in how much time I'm spending marketing. At the time, I'm doing very little marketing, which is poor. And how can you expect your projects to grow if you're not really doing any of that? All of this becomes way easier if your product is solid. So that's like ground zero. And everyone always wants to go straight to revenue and talks about how I want to make money with my apps. First of all, before you do that, you need to actually ship an app that's actually half decent. Then you need to focus on getting users, and then you can start converting users, and that's how we got NSDR to revenue. So we're trying to replicate that. And if you take a step back at the end of the day, that's just the game, isn't it? Like getting users, converting them, giving them a good product experience. Simple, not easy, as they say. So a couple of other last thoughts on go-to-market and growing app. When I was running my agency, I got really into sales. And one of the things I really liked about sales was not attaching yourself to the outcomes. So not attaching yourself to sales made or websites sold, because you can't control that. And it's hard to attach what you do with things you can't control. But what you can control is the number of conversations you're having, the number of cold calls you're making, the number of DMs. These are notoriously spammy things, but that's another philosophy that Your product should be so good that you're not feeling bad about telling people about it. If I truly had the best AI video editor, the best AI motion graphics in the market, then I'd want to go and speak about it. I'd want to DM people about it. I'd want to spam my Twitter feed with it because it is so good. And I know that once people see it, they'll be like, oh, this is sick. I want to use this. I want to pay for it. Same with the AI agent. If it's producing some of the top content out there, we have a bunch of case studies where it's helped grow projects, helped grow companies' sites. Why would we not be wanting to tell more people about it? So that is a shift you need to make mentally if you're going to do marketing and sales and not feel bad about it and not feel like a bit spammy. But yeah, I digress. I was saying about not focus on outcomes. So I don't want to be too obsessed with like number of users or number of sales. I want to be more focused on, am I doing the behaviors, the inputs? Am I posting content, demo videos? Am I launching, relaunching? Am I replying to relevant people on X that might want to use my product? So it's better to think about those things you can control, those things you can sit down and actually do every time you're doing go-to-market or growth. I think that's a good way to think about it. I also said that this sort of stuff is work, even though it doesn't feel like you're adding a new feature every time. And it's going to feel uncomfortable because a lot of people, and if you're watching this video, you're probably not used to doing this sort of thing. So you're going to be worse at it. And it's going to be a lot more comfortable if you're just sticking in your code editor or codex editor building. But unfortunately, that doesn't get you users. And my last thing is that you'll figure out a better way of doing it once you've done it. It's all well and good me doing it here and falling into this planning trap where I'm planning the GTM work rather than actually doing it. So this is a note to me as much as it is maybe to you watching, is that the best thing to do here is to just get on with it. Put together a bit of a plan, give some goals, but start doing it. And then as you get on, you'll figure out better ways of doing it. And I think to end the video, I should act on that and actually send a DM to someone about one of my projects. So let me pull up someone I have in mind. So I'm going to reach out to a guy I've spoken to before, and nothing wrong with sending these messages to people in your network who can then use it, give you feedback. Hey mate, getting my SEO content writing tool launched soon. Content quality is super high in internal tests. Fancy giving it a spin and getting some feedback over. So we'll send that now. So there we go, taking some action. And I think when you've got a new project, you can lean on to the fact that, hey, I've got this thing, it's new, I just want to see if it's useful to anyone or to you, rather than being like an enterprise sales rep. Hey, are you interested in this thing? Let me know, which can come across a bit spammy. So lean into that, lean into those sorts of things. So that wraps up studio log number 3. Any questions, let me know. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And as you can see, I'm trying to lean it more into this growth stuff. Of course, alongside, we're still going to be shipping. That's definitely not going anywhere. Having a lot of fun building. And I always say it's a bit of a blessing and a curse. So easy to build, but it's definitely a challenge to the focus. Yeah, cheers for tuning in. If you've watched this whole thing, analytics on the studio log seem to be pretty decent. They're pretty fun to make. They do take a bit of time to get everything together, but it's also quite good for me to get a bit of a high level view about what's going on. So I'm telling people about what I'm doing. It's also a bit of a reflection for me to see what's going on. Yeah, hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. And yeah, all the best.